All right, let's jump right into today's explainer, where we are unpacking a really fascinating essay by Xuefeng titled Everything Changes According to the Human Heart. We're going to be exploring a pretty bold and honestly challenging concept today. It's this idea that the universe isn't just some random chaotic collection of events that simply happen to us. Instead, it perfectly and justly mirrors our deepest internal intentions. It is a massive claim, right? But the source material breaks it down in a very specific, methodical way.
We've got a great roadmap for this breakdown. We're going to start off with the responsive universe, move into parables of readiness, examine the Lifechanyuan struggles, confront the critics, and then bring it all home with the universal mirror.
So, Section 1, the responsive universe. Let's look at how the Tao reacts to the human condition.
Before we get too deep into the weeds, we really need to pin down exactly what Xuefeng means when he talks about the Tao. In this essay, he absolutely doesn't describe it as some distant deity watching from the clouds, or just an abstract, empty void. Actually, he presents it as a deeply responsive universal mirror. The text insists that the absolute justice of the Tao lies entirely in how it responds to the human heart. It's a direct, proportional relationship. Basically, whatever state your heart is in, that determines exactly what you're going to receive from the universe.
To make this concrete, the text opens with this really stark metaphor. If the earth is a vast desert, the heavens will not bring rain. When the human heart is barren, the heavens will not bestow spiritual gifts. It perfectly captures the core rule of his entire philosophy. A barren internal state is always going to yield a barren external reality. The universe, in his view, isn't going to waste its rain watering the sand, and it certainly won't waste its spiritual gifts on a closed mind. Moving right along to Section 2, Parables of Readiness. We're going to look at the stories of the wealthy man and the profound master. The author grounds this giant cosmic concept using some really practical, down-to-earth parables. The first one is about a wealthy man looking to start a business that will actually benefit the local folks. He rolls into one village, finds everyone totally indifferent, so he just leaves. He checks out another village, finds them difficult and hostile, and leaves again. But finally, he discovers a village where the people are genuinely sincere and kind. So he sets up shop, and boom, their lives improve drastically. The argument here is that the wealth was always on the table, right? But the community had to be fundamentally ready and kind to actually receive it. The universe waits for the right conditions, just like that wealthy man.
Now, the second parable echoes that same theme, but it really raises the stakes. It's about a profound master with extraordinary powers who searched far and wide for a worthy successor. He studied the land, the people, the way they spoke, desperately looking for the right signs. But he never found anyone who fit the bill. And the result? His teachings were just lost. Forever. According to Xuefeng, the universe simply will not force its wisdom onto people who aren't ready to carry it.
So the crucial takeaway from both of these stories is perfectly summed up in this one quote. Only a life of absolute beauty deserves to enjoy absolute beauty. He's arguing that the universe is literally packed with wondrous things, hiding right there in plain sight. But they aren't just handed out to everyone. They are distributed with one massive string attached. The receiver has to be a match for the gift. Let's shift gears to Section 3, the Lifechanyuan struggles. Here's where we look at the founder's dilemma and see how this plays out in reality.
We need to quickly define Lifechanyuan. This is the actual organization Xuefeng founded to share these supposed mysteries of the universe with the world. And it serves as the ultimate case study for his essay because, well, things really did not go as planned. According to the text, when he first launched this group, he felt like his mind was just overflowing with these wondrous things he wanted to share.
But the text details a pretty brutal downward spiral. As the group started to grow, it hit a wall of severe societal pushback. People ignored his guidance. Then they started questioning and criticizing him, which eventually escalated into full-on insults and attacks. And if we think back to that rule of the responsive universe we just talked about, this public hostility actually caused the wondrous things in his own mind to slowly fade away. The barren desert was rejecting the rain, so the clouds just dried up. This triggered a massive crisis of faith for the founder. The text describes this deep sadness and waning enthusiasm that eventually forced him to ask, why should I reveal these wondrous things to people? He even got to the point where he considered tearing down everything he had built. But there's an important distinction here. The text notes he didn't feel this way out of self-pity. He claims he felt it out of pity for humanity because they were actively throwing away the gifts being offered to them.
That brings us to Section 4, Confronting the Critics. Let's look objectively at the accusations and the apathy that followed.
The essay maps out some seriously intense allegations against the group. The police and the public suspected him of everything from seeking political power and trying to overthrow the government to deceiving people for money and sex. At one point, a police officer even told him directly that while the group seemed ideal in the moment, they were terrified it would grow and disrupt society. Now, how does Xuefeng respond? With almost total apathy. He's incredibly dismissive, calling the accusations laughable. He doesn't mount some fierce, dramatic legal defense in the text. He basically just shrugs and says he has to go with the flow.
And he justifies this refusal to explain himself with a rather blunt comparison. He argues that ordinary human thoughts just don't have the capacity to grasp his celestial motives. Just like a pig's mind cannot possibly comprehend the complexities of human society, he argues that human minds cannot comprehend the realms of gods. To him, trying to explain his actions is entirely futile because he believes his critics literally lack the bandwidth to process the truth. In fact, he takes it a step further. He actively welcomes the critics. When people tell his followers to run away because he's a fraud, he says he doesn't get angry at all. His internal reaction is literally, incite them, stir them up. He sees his detractors as a highly effective filtering mechanism. They weed out the followers whose faith is shaky and who, in his eyes, aren't worthy of the universe's higher gifts anyway. Dragging immature followers along is exhausting for him, so he views the critics as doing him a massive favor by lightening his load. And finally, Section 5, the universal mirror, receiving exactly what we ask for. To tie this all together, Xuefeng uses a really visceral contrast to prove the Tao is always perfectly just. If humanity acts with hostility and chaos, the universe delivers that exact same energy right back. As he so vividly puts it, if people are seeking honey, they'll get honey. But if they're seeking dog dung, well, they get dog dung. The public attacked his organization, so instead of receiving wondrous things, they were handed a restless, chaotic world. The mirror simply reflects whatever is standing in front of it. But he doesn't leave it there. The text ends with a clear, actionable procedure for changing reality. He insists those wondrous things are still out there, just waiting in the ordinary world. But to unlock them, you have to do the work. First, cultivate a pure heart. Second, relentlessly pursue truth, goodness, beauty, love, faith, and sincerity. If you can manage that, he promises the Tao, that perfectly responsive universe, will bestow all the corresponding good things. Which leaves us with one final, deeply provocative question to chew on today. If the universe truly is a perfect mirror, what is your heart asking for right now? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will catch you next time.